Hello and welcome to another edition of the CNC Talk Show. I'm your host Sam Duckett in Beijing and I'm joined by...
Hi, I'm Lee.
So, China and Australia have relations spanning over 40 years, but at their core, relations are built by people. So it's our pleasure to welcome Harry Harding onto our show. Hey, Harry.
Hi, Harry.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on your program. It's an absolute pleasure speaking to you today.
So, Harry, yours is a very interesting story. You're currently working in Guangdong province, but prior to that, you were studying Mandarin Chinese, which dates all the way back to your days in primary school. So, what was it like being a primary school student in Australia studying Chinese?
Well, I mean, just picture an Australian school surrounded by gum trees and in a classroom with 20 other 6-year-old kids learning Chinese, learning how to say mum and dad in Chinese, counting from 1 to 10. And even though we were only learning the basics, I think it was a really forward-thinking action taken by the school to set up the Mandarin classes, because perhaps if they hadn't offered those Chinese classes to me in primary school, I wouldn't be here in Guangdong now. So it really set me up just to have an open mind and be open to learning new languages, because I think that's something that we really need to improve in Australia, because not enough people are learning a second language back home.
So Harry, based on your learning experience, what do you think that can inspire foreign friends to take an interest in the Chinese culture or learning the Chinese language?
I guess it differs. When I was in primary school, the Chinese classes were mandatory. So regardless of whether we were interested in China or not, we had to take the classes. But then when I started to learn Chinese at university, everyone around me was interested in China, interested in Chinese culture. Many people wanted to pursue careers in China. Maybe Chinese, it's hard to get started with, but once you've got the basics down pat, it's actually quite an easy language to learn and build upon that foundation.
I couldn't agree more. And when you're learning a language like Chinese, I just think to myself, at the beginning, you're going to struggle with any language.
Yes.
But the more you get on it, the more that you learn it, as long as you're having fun and enjoying yourself, the easier it's going to get over time. Okay, Harry, so I want to talk a bit about China-Australia communications. So I think one of the biggest problems that we have as Westerners is we'll look at China-related issues, but we can look at any given issue with a completely different perspective to someone from China. I think in our professional careers, we've seen this before as well. We'll look at the same thing, but we'll think about it in two completely different ways. So, Harry, what would you say is the best way to help us widen that understanding of how the other's thinking?
I think the best way is to figure out how we can provide more context, because they always say things get lost in translation. But I believe that a lot also gets lost in a lack of context. For example, that there are 1.4 billion people living here, just, going about their everyday lives with their families and wanting the same things as Australian people want, happy lives, stability for their families. I think that is something that gets lost all too much. So really, in my work and with what I'm doing at the moment, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to provide that context so that when people hear something about China, if it's negative, they can absorb it while having context that puts it into perspective for them, rather than just solely focusing on every single negative signal that they are getting about this country.
I couldn't agree more, Harry. I'd say that working on this show alone, it feels like every time we're preparing for a show, I'm learning something new, and it helps make my life in China easier. And it's fun. It's interesting to learn about. Now, when I look at cultural relations, one of the things I think that's great for helping us further understand each other and pushing for communication is music. A lot of people say music has no boundaries. Anyone can like a song regardless of their country or nationality or origin. Speaking of which, We were actually listening to some of your music before today's show, Harry.
Yes,
You're
we
very
both
good.
love that song.
I got to be honest, Harry. I was trying to hum one of your songs earlier. Lee actually told me that my singing was so bad it was a disservice to your music. Would you mind maybe giving us a bit of a sing of the chorus? We'd love to hear it.
Okay, you know, I mean, a lot of singers don't like singing live in interviews because you always sound much worse than the professional recordings.
I'm sure that would never happen to you.
And also, you know, we have just come into the cooler part of autumn in Guangzhou, so my throat is not in the best state it's ever been, but I'll give it a go. 后来我以为你会是我的谁，一切的不完美都能相依相偎。现实太卑微，一句话就摧毁，小小的种子瞬间被击碎。Wow, that was
native Chinese.
fantastic. He's really good.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love the most about that is that he's taken his passion for Mandarin and he's managed to flip it into something bigger.
Yeah.
And that's going to inspire and motivate Harry to continue to grow and become a better Chinese speaker as time goes on.
Exactly.
And Chinese music is good. There are a lot of talented musicians here that I think could make their mark more abroad.
Yeah, and apart from what you have just mentioned, I think the communications between the two countries are far more than the cultural exchange.
Right.
Yeah, like for instance, we can't ignore the trade and economic communications between the two countries, as actually we all benefit from it. So Harry, what do you think?
Well, honestly, I would love to see the relationship between China and Australia improve, because I 100% believe that we can benefit from each other and we can also learn a lot from each other.
When I look at economic prosperity, one term that I think is thrown around quite a lot these days is global economic integration. In terms of China and Australia, how important do you think that is, and how do we need to expand on this?
I think global economic connectivity is vital moving forward, not just for Australia and China, but for every single country in the world. And personally, from my perspective, I feel like China's Belt and Road Initiative is a great example of that. Because before the pandemic occurred, the world was just moving along slowly at its own pace. And, you know, we couldn't really identify a lot of the problems that existed because we needed that trigger to really make those issues evident. And now we've seen that there are a lot of countries around the world that just haven't been able to deal with the pandemic effectively because they don't have the financial means to do so. So, in order for the world to be prosperous overall, and for the whole world to return to normalcy, and for everybody to enjoy healthy lives, we really do need to have strong governments. We need to have prosperous countries, and you know, sharing wealth is one way in which we can do that, and that happens through shared development, which is, you know, the core ideal behind the Belt and Road Initiative. So I would like to see more of that kind of thing happening in the future, where we can set our differences aside and we can work together and we can think about how we can benefit from each other and how we can help each other and how we can all grow as a global community, because that's what we are. It's 2020. The world is tiny.
I think when we look at COVID-19, one of the biggest impacts that I've seen it have is just on the atmosphere in the streets and the level of tourism. I mean, every time I phone back to United Kingdom, everyone says the same thing. Everywhere's empty. Everyone's scared to go out. Exactly. And I imagine that you've probably got a similar situation as well in Australia. You know, I'm guessing those big,
the
big tourist
Street,
destinations are going to be a lot more empty than they were before. So, Harry, have you heard any stories similar to that?
Well, I think, generally speaking, across the board, tourism in Australia is suffering. But a lot of the tourism operators, as well as retailers, would have seen the obvious, reduction in revenue from the 1st of October through to the 10th of October or the 8th of October, because generally every year that is a period of Chinese people travel to Australia. They, book hotels, they book flights, they go to the direct outlets to do a lot of shopping. And I think this year people would have been able to put two and two together and figure out that, yes, we do actually rely heavily on revenue from Chinese tourists with our tourism industry. So I think moving forward, once we've got all the health issues sorted out, I hope people will take a step back and think about how the pandemic has shown us that being physically disconnected from China, not having the Chinese tourists coming, and also the students, how that's had a massive impact on our economy. So I hope that will encourage some people to rethink how they view China, and also appreciate the fact that we do really need to have a positive relationship with China if we want to stay prosperous and strong as a country.
And I think it's going to be that relationship as well that's going to help us actually get past the COVID-19 pandemic. When you look at all the different countries out there looking at researching and making a vaccine, you've got the UK, you've got America, and you've got China. China is definitely a big player in this field. It's not about numbers and comparing and seeing
not a competition.
Right, who cares who gets the vaccine out first? What we care about is that we can get back to normal and we can go to places like Australia and beyond and reconnect with each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. We need to work together. We need to learn from each other and the successes that we have made respectively.
I think you make a very good point, Harry. The only way that we learn to do this is if we listen to each other, we look at our past experiences, and we move forward together. Exactly. Right, thank you, Harry, for being on our show. It was a pleasure to speak with you, and it was great learning about Australia. As I said, it's a country I've never been to, but
you should.
It's one that I would definitely like to go to. And that actually brings us to the end of another edition of our show. Thank you, Harry, for being with us, and Lee, as always. And remember, if you want to get in touch with us and leave us a comment, you can do so as always. Okay, that's all for now, and see you next time. Goodbye.